Hello there and welcome to this Satchel Wellbeing webinar. My name is Jon Tait. I am a Deputy CEO and Director of School Improvement at a multi-academy trust here in the UK. I'm also an education author, speaker, blogger and podcast talk. And I want to give you some real tips and insight into wellbeing, whether you are a senior leader, a head teacher, trust leader, phase leader, head of subject, whatever you may be. Hopefully you'll be able to take some of the information I talk about in this webinar and also the subsequent webinars that I'm going to be hosting for Satchel as well. So in this webinar, we're going to be talking specifically about appreciation and recognition, which is one of the 8 pillars of well-being that Satchel have outlined that is really important. And from my point of view, I think that's really important because we need to make sure that we are providing an environment where we are recognizing and appreciating our staff so they can be the best versions of themselves that they can be, in order for our students to be the best that they can be. And we can't expect our students to be amazing and get amazing results and amazing outcomes if we're not putting the time, the effort, and really recognizing the great things that our staff do themselves. That's why I think it's really important. So in this webinar, I'm going to talk to you about, I'm going to dive into Satchel Pulse. I'm going to talk to you about how that can really help and how that can help with some prompts and some questions that you can use as phase leaders, as team leaders, as school leaders, those type of things that might enable you to reflect on your current practices. Then we're going to go into 2 specific strategies that I'm going to give you tonight, within this webinar, that actually will talk about why it's really important, what you can do, how you can put them into place the very next day in your school and make it really easy. So hopefully that will be really useful for you. And then all of the subsequent webinars will follow a similar structure, where we'll talk about what the pillar is, why it's important, how Satchel Pulse can help, and then 2 strategies that you can put in place very, very quickly. So let me share my screen, and I will dive immediately into Satchel Pulse. And as you can see there across the screen, we have the 8 different pillars here that Satchel have talked about in terms of what they break down well-being to be, and how a lot of their kind of research and their work has kind of centered around those 8 different areas. But we're only going to look at the first one in this webinar, which is the appreciation and recognition one. So I'm just going to click on this one here and dive into here. So as I scroll down a minute, I'm just going to click the drop down and click all questions. Okay, so what Satchel have done within Satchel Pulse is they've created a series of questions that you can use almost as a survey, really, to kind of gain the understanding of kind of where your staff are with certain questions, so that you can really kind of see the impact of that across your organization. This is obviously all dummy data in here, but I'm just going to talk to you about 2 or 3 of these for you to get a bit of an insight into why this might be important and how you can use some of these questions or prompts to reflect where you are as an organization, either as a school, a department, or even a trust. So what we have got here, we've got on the left-hand side, you've got the question itself that you would ask the staff. You've got what the average score is. You've then got across the other side, what the impact is. So actually, the more of the kind of lightning bolts that it would light up, the more impact that kind of statement would have on your organization as a whole. So if there's less of those lightning bolts, then it has less impact. However, they're still really important to think about. So if I just scroll down and pick a couple, if I look at this one here, day to day, I feel my work is appreciated. So if I just click on this one here, you'll see that the question on the right-hand side has changed. So what it allows me to then do is then talk about, right, well, actually, my staff on average have said that it's only a 5. So they're kind of in the middle, really. And there's some questions to think about. First one, how is the culture in the school or the district supporting the feeling of appreciated? So actually really interested about, how does that culture enable that? Secondly, are there robust systems to show that appreciation day to day in the workplace? All right. So are they effective? Are there systems that actually enable us to demonstrate how appreciative we are of our colleagues or the people that we line manage? And even if we are doing some of those things, underneath it then says, are they effective? So actually then getting you to reflect on that kind of pretty quickly, rather than just, yes, we do these things, but are they effective? Let's scroll down a little bit more. This is kind of interesting. If I look at this one here, I believe I'm respected by my colleagues. So again, this one's got a 2.0 at the moment, showing it's got 2 lightning bolts, so it's fairly significant. Things to think about. Is there a culture of respect in the department or the school or the district? Now, interestingly, again, you can talk about it from a departmental level, from a school level, from a trust level. Does it come from a leadership position or modeling respect for all? So actually, do we need to develop this, and do we need to model this as senior leaders, as role models, and do we need to actually model that kind of respect for, you know, our colleagues. And the second bullet point, what is done when disrespect is shown by members of staff? So flipping that round on its head from a negative point of view, what happens then if we see that? How is it dealt with? How is it addressed? How is it followed up? Because actually some of those things can be very, very damaging for your staff. If I scroll down to one underneath, I believe that the parents of students are supportive of the staff. So actually the bullet points there give you some great reflection things to think about. How is parent feedback and complaints handled? All right. Is there a system to feedback changes and resolutions to parents when there have been issues? So that idea of actually, I suppose, feedback both ways. What feedback are you hearing from staff that's then fed through to school, to staff, about how their work has really been appreciated, and some of those goodwill messages from staff, and that's brilliant. But equally the other way, about kind of, you said this as parents, therefore we've done this as a school, and that can be kind of, you know, really key both ways. Second bullet point, do the parents understand the district and the school's vision for the students? So actually your standards as a school, does this agree with their own vision and values? Sometimes there's kind of a disconnect there between the standards that you're trying to impose in school and what the parents think that the standards should be, or what they're happy with. And again, that can obviously impact, going back to that initial question. I believe the parents of students are supportive of the staff. Well, if they don't agree with those kind of standards or the things that you're trying to impose, then they're probably not going to be supportive of you. So it's really trying to get that aligned, so that's really, really connected. But all of these questions, as you can see, are really great starting points. They're great reflective questions for you as a team, or for your senior leadership team, or as a school or a trust, to be able to start to think, well, actually, are we doing this, and is it right, and is it really been effective? So those questions are great as a starting point, which is what I wanted to kind of show you briefly just there. Right, if I just jump in now then to some presentation slides that I want to talk to you about, kind of two strategies I said that I was going to give you that will hopefully help with your appreciation and recognition pillar within Wellbeing. And these are two strategies that I've used before, two strategies that have been extremely effective, and hopefully you can kind of pick them up very, very quickly and use them almost the very next day. So let's dive into this presentation. Right, so the first thing we've got here is we've got what we call the Geek of the Week award. And this is a fantastic thing to do. So what we've got on the screen there is what is it? And I'll talk to you about what is it, then I'll talk to you about what equipment you might need, then I'll talk about what to avoid, and then finally I'll talk about how you can take this further. So what is it then? Well, it's a great way of publicly recognizing a different member of staff every week. You award a trophy in like a briefing or something. You talk a little bit about them and say why they've done amazing this week, or what they've done to go above and beyond. And it's a great way to really demonstrate and show publicly your values, that actually you reward hard work and you are going to recognize your staff. And this is really important for you, either as a head teacher or as a school or as a trust, to do that. And really important, that bottom bullet point, is that it should be open to any member of staff, any adult in your building. This is not just about the teachers. It can be anybody from front of house, reception, office, site staff, IT technicians, teachers. It doesn't matter. What you are saying is, we appreciate everyone in this building. We appreciate all of our adults. We want to recognize all the great things that they're doing. So by having an award like this, it's great. And this award, certainly, as you'll see as I go on and talk about this a bit further, captured the kind of heart to the last kind of place that I worked in. It was amazing. And that kind of Geek of the Week award, people looked forward to it. They looked forward to hearing about it in briefing every week. And it was a great way of doing that. So what do you need then? Well, you either buy or create a small trophy. Now I've got an icon on the screen there of a gold trophy. You can buy a normal trophy, but you also might want to create one yourself. And we did that. We actually created, we used our DT department to create a base of a trophy. And then we bought like a pop character figure. Probably seen them in music shops and game shops. And we had one of those that sat on the top of it, of like a cartoon character. And that idea of Geek of the Week. So it had like the kind of geeky kind of, the glasses on and stuff. And it was perfect for that kind of Geek of the Week. And then we presented it every week, and it was fantastic. And what was really nice was that people then started taking it home. They started taking photographs of it. They started really feeling like it was a really great thing to achieve. Staff started dressing it up in their different subjects. So scientists put test tubes on it, and PE staff put like a cricket bat with it, and all these things. And it had a life of its own. And we saw it on social media and stuff. And it was brilliant that people really felt massively recognized in front of their staff. And it became a bit of a cult kind of item every week. What to avoid then? Making sure that you don't just award it just for the sake of it. You might want to award it weekly. You might want to award it fortnightly. You might not want to award it at all one week. And that's fine, because actually it's about not just doing it for the sake of it, because people understand that and they see through that pretty quickly, and it'll become devalued. And I've put also there, although I've put what to avoid, is keeping a record of who wins it so that you avoid the same people getting it all the time. So not that you would then only award it to someone who hasn't got it, but it might be just nice to have a look at that record and think, oh, that department's won it 5 or 6 times now, or a lot of our male members of staff are only winning it, or a lot of, the same person's won it a few times there. So that record might be quite nice to be able to see just how it's been spread across your staff over a period of time. And how would take it further then? Well, a great idea would be to take nominations from staff. So not just as a head teacher or a senior leadership team, you decide who wins it. Take nominations from staff. Ask people to email in their nominations this week if they've seen somebody go above and beyond or do something amazing. And that's a great way of finding lots of amazing stories out that you didn't know in your school. It also allows you to then read some of those out as like kind of significant commendations that they didn't win the award, but we wanted to read this out as well. So that gives you a lot more of the opportunities to read those things out. Maybe ask students who they want to win the award. It's great for students to be nominating their teachers for awards at us. What a great way to do that. And then also thinking about maybe if you've got a team that you want to nominate and like creating a Team of the Week trophy. We did that. So we had our Geek of the Week trophy. We then bought like an A-team van, and we stuck an A-team van on top of a kind of trophy. Again, that idea of, the A-team are the best team in the world. Surely that's the A-team. So we had that kind of idea of a Geek of the Week or a Team of the Week trophy, and we could decide which one we wanted to present depending on what week it was. We didn't always present them together, and it gave us that flexibility to recognize more than one person at a time, because there might be, your safeguarding team or your front of house team or your events team or your catering team. Rather than singling one person out, it's a nice way to do it. Okay, second strategy is staff recognition postcards. And this is exactly what it says in the tin. Your postcards, writing them out and handing them out, but there are ways to do it, and there are ways to do it really, really well, as there is with anything in life. So first thing, golden rule, number 1 bullet point, always use a handwritten note. A handwritten note is so much more powerful than an email. We send so many emails a day. If you've ever received a handwritten note in this digital age, you will know the power of that it's so different, it's personal, it feels really bespoke to you. It's well worth doing that in terms of handwriting it. Written by the head teacher or a senior leader or a colleague, again, that's fairly straightforward in terms of how you want to do that. Write on there why they're amazing. Don't just say thanks for a great week. Actually, what have they done that's made you decide you want to put pen to paper? Tell them exactly why it is. Might only needs to be 2 or 3 lines. Think about the narrow size of a postcard. Doesn't need to be big. Tell them what they've done and why you're rewarding them for it. And then either leave it with them, so maybe deliver it to them, and that's a nice touch to deliver it to someone face to face, personally. But equally, you might just want to slip it in their pigeonhole, depending on who they are and whether they're embarrassed or if they're teaching, or you might just want to slip it in their pigeonhole as a little surprise, and that might be quite nice as well. But you'll know your staff, and you'll know how and when you want to do that. What do you need then? Well, obviously you need a stack of postcards. Lots of schools have got their own bespoke kind of corporate looking postcards now with logos and stuff on. You might already have those that you send out to students. So if you've got those, brilliant. If you haven't got any and you think, well, we can't do this, go online and buy a pack of 20 or 30 postcards and thank you postcards. You can get them all over the internet, dead easy. And then you can write them out very quickly and you can hand them out to your staff. What to avoid then? Well, a bit like the Geek of the Week idea, don't overdo it. Don't be handing them out like confetti all over the place, because it devalues that pretty quickly, and people will know that you're trying to you've got a strategy and you're going to do it whatever. Like, oh, I know that there has to be 10 or 15 postcards handed out a week, and it doesn't become very good at that point because people know they're only getting it for a certain reason. Or if you've been into, imagine you've been into kind of complaint or something in the head teacher, and next week you get a recognition postcard. It's a little bit like, God, like, I know why I'm getting this is because I said that last week. Again, we're not stupid, so we see through those things pretty quickly. So think about how you would use it in a far more strategic way for the right time at the right reason. You might not send any for a few weeks, but then when you send some, it means something. Last bullet point there, don't fall into the trap of thinking I can type these out really quickly and we can get them stuck on a sticker and put them on a postcard because it saves me time. Saving you time doesn't mean to say this is going to be powerful. The time taken to write a handwritten note is the really key thing here. So don't fall into the trap of doing it digitally. Emails are sent far too often. It's a handwritten note. It makes a difference, and that's the way it should be done. And lastly, how to take it further then. Take some postcards with you when you wander in the school on your learning walks. If you see something great, step outside, write it on a postcard. You don't have to hand it to the member staff then. You might want to, but you don't have to. That idea of kind of capturing those things and not forgetting it, later on in the week or later on in your day when you get back to your office. Oh, what was it? I didn't, write it down there and then. Second bullet point there, what a great way to finish the week by getting out and about and actually handing some postcards out and actually, having that walk where you're going to hand some out to staff. And as they leave the building, they've got a postcard to say how well they've done this week. Fantastic. Also inviting the students as part of that. You might want to stop the lesson. Say, excuse me, sir, just want to stop the lesson a second. I've got something to say. And then publicly reward that member of staff and recognize that member of staff in front of all their children. The children love it. Oh, Miss, sir, well done, brilliant. And it demonstrates to your children in your building that you are caring and you're an appreciative organization, even with the adults as well. So that's a really nice way to do that on a Friday. And who doesn't love going home with a postcard of recognition on a Friday, whether we're an adult or whether we're a child? And also asking visitors to take part. If you've got visitors coming into your school who are doing learning walks, who are coming around for visits, and they see something great or they comment about something, say, oh, would you mind just filling out a postcard on this? Because I'll be able to hand that to that member of staff. Now, they won't know their name, but you can write their name on there. They can write on why it is. But imagine that, getting a postcard and a recognition and a kind of something from a visitor who's been in and seen something great, and they wanted to, before they left the building, they wanted to write down how impressed they were. Think about getting that and receiving that as a member of staff. That is fantastic. So I think all of those ways, very easy to do, and it's the thought process behind it that goes into that. Okay, well, hopefully that has been, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Hopefully that's been useful to give you some ideas on that kind of why it's important, how you can use Satchel Pulse to gain some insight into that reflection, questions and those prompts to get you thinking about how well you're doing things or if you're doing things and evaluating it. And then 2 strategies that you can hopefully use the very next day. So hopefully that's been useful, short, sweet, succinct, and exactly what you've kind of, you logged in for to see that. And hopefully you'll join me in future webinars where we'll look at different pillars, different areas of those pillars all the way through those 8, so another 7 to come. Okay, hopefully that's been useful. See you again soon.